Welcome back to another video, and in this video we're going to talk about all things related to Bundaberg. And if you didn't know, Bundaberg is actually in regional Queensland, very close to Gladstone Central and a bit away from Brisbane CBD. And Bundaberg is a very interesting location because it has a lot of things going for it. It's already had a lot of things happen to it, and now it's in this weird stage of whether or not we should invest or we shouldn't invest. And I'm going to try give arguments for both for and against, and I'm going to let you guys decide, right? So you do your own due diligence, you do your own risk appetite analysis, and determine if Bundaberg is a suitable location for you to invest into. I am not here to tell you whether or not you should invest into this location. I'm here simply to just give you the facts, the figures, and the data, and you can decide what you want to do with it. And the first thing I always do in all of these suburb breakdowns is go through the investment data or the data behind these locations. And if you didn't know, like the rest of regional Queensland, Bundaberg and Gladstone and Cairns and Townsville have been skyrocketing over the past 2 to 3 years, with growth from anywhere from about 35% to about 100% over the past 3 years. And Bundaberg is no different. In fact, when you look at these locations, I've already broken it down for you, you can see that a multitude of these locations are over 50% over the past 3 years, including Bundaberg West, Walkervale, South, Norwell, Kepnock, Sevenson Heights, and these are some of the most popular locations for people to invest into in Bundaberg over the past 2-3 years, including BAs, including normal retail investors and owner-occupiers looking to buy there over the past couple of years. And not only that, you can see that over the past 5 years, a lot of these have exceeded 100% growth over the past 5 years, which is just insane, in my opinion. And when you look deeper into some of these locations, you can see the growth that it's already had over the 10-year, 7-year, 5-year period. And when you look at the stock on market and days on market of some of these suburbs and location, you can start to see a trend where data is starting to look a little bit slower than what I would expect, right? Stock is still low, stock is still decreasing, but the demand in some of these locations is starting to taper off or sort of starting to trend upwards, which is not what I want to see as an investor. Once again, do your own due diligence with the suburbs. Some of these suburbs still have a little bit of demand, but they have low stock, which is still allowing house prices to keep on growing. But realistically, the main concern I have with Bundaberg as a region, and one of the reasons I don't look to invest into or I haven't talked about as much, is because of all the growth that it's had. I know this is a running tale with all of my commentary and my analysis, but that's because I don't like to invest into markets that have already grown an immense amount and now I'm buying after people have already made hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? You can see that the past year alone, it's around 13% growth, and about 3-year growth is 48%. And you don't have to look at HTAG, you can have a look at SQM Research, which is a free resource. And when you look at the suburb of 4670, which is Bundaberg, you can actually see on the graph itself the amount of growth it's had over the past 3 to 5 years. It's one of the biggest concerns I have with a location like this, and you can see the steam really cooled off a little bit in that period of time, and now it's starting to pick up again for various different reasons. And that's the main concern I have with Bundaberg. And before I go into the pro sides of Bundaberg, if you have not already, make sure you are subscribed to the private community, because Bundaberg is a location I have discussed countless times within the private community to different members about whether or not you should invest there, what the pros and cons are, what you should look out for. It's all there. And if you have not already, then you're just missing out. There's so much resources, there's so much exclusive content, there's questions being asked every single day. It's an absolute no-brainer. If you need a little bit of mentorship, that little bit of help to get you over the line, then you need to be part of the private community. There is so much value jam-packed for just $35 a month. As well, I have a free newsletter where I go over 30 property tips and insights which you can directly implement into your property portfolio and your property investment journey, which I will email to you over the next 30 days. These are daily insights which you can directly implement. So you need to subscribe to this, and it's absolutely free. So there's nothing I gain out of this. So make sure you actually go put your email in and make sure you get those tips every single day. They will help you. Let's get back into the video. And I've talked about the major negative about investing into Bundaberg, and that's because of price growth, right? And all the hype around it and the immense price growth it's had over the past couple of years. But there's a lot of things going for Bundaberg as a location, as a region, that where you can possibly overlook that price growth, right? And you can ascertain and you can determine whether or not, hey, this is still a reasonably viable option to go in and invest into. And I'm going to give you that. And it really comes down to the number of infrastructure projects and the number of money being spent into this area, as well as its economy. There's a lot of things going for it. And the first thing I want to do is break down its economy. You can see it's a $5.62 billion industry with a population of about 100,000 people. So it's not a small regional town. It's quite a decent size, right? It's a bit shy of Bendigo, but it's still quite large, even though on the map, it doesn't really look that big. But what we can do is go to economic indicators. Sorry, what we do is go to local employment and we look at employment by industry. And over here, if we just rank it by maximum to lowest, we can see that healthcare is a massive portion of Bundaberg, along with retail trade, agricultural forestry, education training, construction, etc. And healthcare is a really big component of Bundaberg as a location. And it's not a single town industry, right? You can see it's very diverse in the occupations, the employment that it has as a location. So it's not a mining town, it's not a one-trick pony, it's not an LNG location like Gladstone. It's a very diversified industry, or reasonably diversified industry. Let's also have a look at unemployment. And unemployment in this location in Bundaberg has been dropping to, it's arguably its lowest at 4.5%. So people have jobs there, it has a good economy, it's reasonably diverse. So from an economic standpoint, it's looking very good. It's very solid for us to consider Bundaberg from that angle. But I'm going to go to the next relative positive aspect of Bundaberg, and that is the sheer number of projects happening there, right? They've got a Bundaberg solar farm happening. They got a new hospital, which I'm going to go more into. They've got an aviation precinct, which is being developed. They're talking about a expansion to the port of Bundaberg, which is good. They're closing up nearly a new regional aquatic center. So there's a lot of projects and money being spent into this location within Bundaberg, which makes us want to consider it as a location. Now, I have said in previous videos that infrastructure projects are only one part of property investment, and that is why I went through the negative first about Bundaberg and all the price growth it has. But I do want to cover some of these projects. The new Bundaberg Hospital project is a $1.2 billion investment into this region, right? It's huge. It will create over 2,880 construction jobs. It's already created most of those jobs as they're having construction at this very point in time. It's not just a plan, it's active in construction, and its completion is in the second half of 2027. And if you look over here, you can actually see right next to the regional airport of Bundaberg, you can see the new hospital earmarked location where it's going, which is really good to see, right? This project is actively being constructed on, it's actively being worked on. And so projects like this are very good to see. Hospital projects are one of the best infrastructure projects I like to see when it comes to property investment, mainly because in the short term it creates construction jobs, and in the long term it creates jobs for doctors, clinicians, nurses, etc., as well as manufacturing for equipment, plants, technicians, etc. It has a lot of good things going for it when it's a hospital project. And so this $1.2 billion new hospital is a very, very good sight to see, and arguably one of the biggest pros about still considering Bundaberg as an investment opportunity, amongst its other projects as well, like the Regional Aquatic Center, which is being almost finished. You've got the Bundaberg Solar Farm as well in development. You've also got the Bundaberg Aviation Precinct, which is under development as well, which is good to bring in more jobs, as well as the Port of Bundaberg expansion advocacy. So planning stages, again, this is not something I would make an investment decision on, obviously, because it's a plan, but it's something to just keep an eye on, right? So it's really good from the infrastructure standpoint. And that's one of the main reasons that despite all the price growth it's had, a lot of people still consider Bundaberg as a location to invest into. And I'm going to leave it up to you guys to decide whether or not you would invest in there, despite all the price growth that's happened. And realistically speaking, when you look at Bundaberg for under $600,000, there's not many properties available for you, right? You can find some decent properties that are brick homes around $600,000. This one says $489 and over. It'll likely go very high. But if you're going in there with an expectation of being able to secure a property for under $500,000, then just don't expect the highest quality property, right? Expect maybe something that's weatherboard or fibro or built on stumps. But if you have a bigger budget of like 550 to 600, then possibly you can secure something a little bit better than what you'd expect. Like I always say, check your public housing, look at the pockets where you should be investing into, right? There are good and bad pockets throughout every single suburb. Some have more public housing, some have more crime. Talk to your local property manager about the best places of Bundaberg to invest into. And I also want to flag as well, with these regional towns in Queensland, they're usually beside a very large river or waterway, and with that comes flood risk, right? So partially a portion of Bundaberg is under floodways or flood hazard. So you should do your due diligence about where exactly you should be investing into. And you can just go to this site over here to help you out with that. So ultimately, the reason I wanted to make this video of Bundaberg is because people still ask me about this location, whether I invest in there, would I not? It depends. It really does depend. It depends on your short-term growth plans and whether or not you want to invest long-term as well. Bundaberg is one of those locations where I would consider it as a long-term hold. It has a reasonably diversified industry. It has good infrastructure projects. It has good services like hospitals throughout the location, which is good for us to see. But it's also had this immense price growth over the past 3 years, which makes me concerned about whether I'm buying close to or at the top of the market. Whereas I could take my money and invest somewhere else where it hasn't had that immense price growth over the past 3 to 5 years. And that is a decision that only you can make. I can't tell that decision for you. And like always, you should be doing your own due diligence and making sure whether or not you should invest into this location. These are just my thoughts. And like always, if you haven't already, subscribe to the private community. It's $35 a month, an absolute no-brainer when you have access to over 235 different investors helping you out every single day. What's stopping you? Join now.